Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world. It's time for the bout you've all been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight just to land on the line.
Hey, what up, boxing fans? This is the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live on a Tuesday night, and oh boy, do we have a whole lot to get into. Obviously, we're coming off a huge fight weekend. Although on boxing Twitter, for well over 50% of us, and I say us because I am in the boxing degenerate area, because when you're on boxing Twitter, you are kind of a boxing degenerate no matter how you look at it. But it's really funny and apparent what is important to folks in the sport on Twitter. There is just a war raging on. Meanwhile, we just had a great weekend in the sport, so we're going to cover everything. Okay, we're going to actually talk about what happened in the ring. And then, of course, we got to talk about what happened on the way to the ring, right? Because Wilder has now blamed a couple of items that we'll get into. And we will get into all this stuff. Like I said, I'm going to start in the ring. And then we're going to ask questions after, like, hey, will anything be different in a third Wilder fight with Fury? A lot of folks are already dumping on a Trilogy that it's a worthless fight. It's a garbage fight. There's no use. There's no need for it. But, hey, this is part of the best fighting the best, especially when they're undefeated. You don't think they have rematch clause? I mean, we all knew that there was going to more than likely be a Trilogy. And now folks are just up in arms that it might happen. But that's part of fighting best versus best. But should Wilder get a new trainer or get a new team around him and actually start to, think about changing up his game minorly or sticking to certain things minorly? Obviously, we'll talk about his corner. One side of the corner wanted to throw the towel in, the other didn't. In his feelings about that, a lot of folks are freaking out, from Wilder wanting to go on in his Shield and him mad at his corner. And I understand that. His corner made the right choice, no doubt about it. But, it's just not the first time we've seen a fighter pissed off, at their corner and saying stupid stuff after a fight. So the excuses have piled up for Wilder. We'll go over each and every one of them. But we also keep in mind that we have heard plenty of excuses, over time. You know what I mean? We'll talk about, some of the shots to the ear and behind the back of the head, behind the head. And if that had anything to do with why Wilder's legs were just gone. Either way, no matter what the reason or excuse, because remember, I bring that up a lot here when it comes to fights and boxers and corners and just in general. There's a whole lot of that, right? Reasons and excuses. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes an excuse can turn out to be a legit reason. A lot of times excuses are just that. In this way, there's a reason, maybe, sure, with Wilder, but there's really no excuse based off his reasoning, right? So we're going to get into all this, but like I said, for those who have been watching boxing, not just for a while, I'm not going to sit here and go all boxing historian on you guys and just sit there and be like, oh, you're not as old as me, so you haven't seen as much. I'm just talking in the last 10 or 20 years. I mean, we don't even have to go back that far. Joshua Clottey blaming his loss to Pacquiao on diarrhea. I mean, there's plenty of times, where we've heard some great – I mean, Manny Pacquiao still thinks he beat Floyd. Remember, he said that before the shoulder injury. So we're going to get into a variety of stuff. Like I said, usually these items get mentioned more and they get online and on Twitter way more because it's a big fight. So the bigger the fight, the bigger the cap, the bigger the peeling, right? Like Cube said, the bigger the fight, the more intense scrutiny or praise or whatever. That's what it comes down to. And if you are a fighter that talks smack, which both these guys were, when it doesn't go your way, you're going to get a bunch of shit online. I mean, you're going to get a bunch of shit online regardless, but especially if you are, when you say a variety of stuff, let's put it that way. So we're going to talk all about that. We'll mention the undercard here and there. There were some upsets. There was actually a decent prospect fight in the opener. A lot of people didn't really talk about that fight. Not like it was some great fight, but actually for prospect level fights, I actually like that fight. We'll talk about, like I said, we're gonna just breeze on that other stuff, but we'll stay focused to what's next for both fighters. We kind of know what's next, but in general, and just we'll talk about the actual event because the casuals were tuned in, and no matter how it went down, as a boxing fan, you got to like that we didn't just have a jab and grab fight. You know what I mean? Do we have some controversy with with some people saying that, there was the reason why, Wilder didn't have his legs anymore is because he got hit behind the head and in the ear or whatever. Sure. We had a little bit of controversy, but the point is we actually, through 2 rounds, had a 2-way fight because Wilder was actually doing good early. I mean, Tyson Fury even admits that part. But then, I don't know. My thing is, it's like a lot of this is just pro-Fury, pro-Wilder, anti-PBC, pro-PBC, PBC fanboy, DAZN and Matchroom fanboys. A lot of this stuff is just that. I mean, let's be honest. But we also will, and we'll dig into it because, you hear Eddie Hearn talk about the fight, and it's funny that, it looked like a behind-the-head shot or ear shot affected his equilibrium or his balance, and he wasn't on he had issues. He was done, basically, at that point, much the way Joshua got hit on the side of the head, and he never fully recouped. I mean, it's just fun to hear all this stuff and to hear people change, or even like the Kovalev-Ward situation. A lot of the folks that aren't saying a thing about certain tactics, which I think were smart, certain tactics that Tyson Fury used in this fight, a lot of folks weren't mentioning that. But for the Ward-Kovalev, it was only the low blows by Ward. It had nothing to do with that. Kovalev wasn't hurt multiple times to the body by Ward. He wasn't hurt to the head or to the body again later. It was all low blows. That's it. It was just because he fought rough and dirty, actually. You know what I mean? And they've totally forgotten about that. You know what I mean? So it is kind of funny. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is just fanboy stuff. They swear up and down that they keep it real and don't get mad at me because I'm telling the truth. But then it's just a bunch of nonsense. You know what I mean? It is kind of funny. So we're going to talk all about this, though. Because, like I said, this is a big weekend. To do that kind of gate, that's huge. Nobody could have predicted that they'd do that size of gate. I thought, I think they got $6 million easy. I could see 8 or 10 maybe just based off the ticket prices and how the tickets were moving. But I never would have guessed. I mean, even the powers that be, Al and Bob both said it'd be about, or not both said because Al didn't say it, but they had guesstimated about 12 or 13 million at the gate, and it did over 16, almost 17 million. So there's so many positives to take away from this fight as a boxing fan, and the fact that ESPN and Fox came together. But everybody wants to just give their own credit to certain folks. It really matters what, like I said, what side are you on? I mean, are you on the pro PBC where, you know, the PBC can't do anything wrong and that was just cheap shots and that's why he won the fight? Or are you on the side that, you know, the Glazier, the Rick Glazier side who says, Wilder should be thanking Bob Arum. Bob Arum is the one that made this fight big. You know, that type of thing. Like it wasn't a full production. And like these fighters, you know, they did a great job promoting this fight in general, but it was the networks that did it. So we're going to talk about a variety of stuff because, like I said, this was a big weekend, man. And I think that gets lost in all the excuses and reasons and bullshit stuff. And just enjoy what happened, too. Like, don't forget to enjoy some of this stuff because we had a bunch of casuals looking in. And it's funny because the casuals I talked to, even that night and since then, they don't have this same sentiment. And some of them are actually anticipating a third, like, I wonder if Wilder doesn't get hit like that, you know. I wonder if he could actually land a bomb. And they actually have interest, or at least they respect. I think it comes down to respect. You know, we worry so much about the fighter's health sometimes, and the other times it's like, oh, fuck them, let's just see him brawl, and who cares? Don't put a lot of these folks that are all about Mark Brill and throwing in the towel, which I thought was the right move. A lot of these folks are, you know, the same folks that sit there and rip, you know, fighters that, you know, bend the knee or take the knee or just in general, they'll yell at other corners, or they'll yell that the ref stopped it too early when it's clear as day. So a lot of this is just a bunch of shit talking back and forth. A lot of it is just emotion, you know what I mean? And you could really see it come out. And let's be honest, some of it was race. No matter what side, some of it was race. I mean, clearly, if you don't think a black and a white fighter fighting, especially on the number 1 and number 2 in the division level, we saw it with Kovalev and Ward too. That plays into it as well. And I'm not bringing out the race card just for no reason. I'm just saying, I mean, some of the comments after the fight were like, wow, really? Okay. Okay. Now we know how you really feel because you sure weren't emotional like this on some other stuff. So yeah, some of it's not really that big of a surprise. Some of it is just like, God, aren't you happy? But anyway, like I said, we'll talk a little bit about the undercard, not a whole lot. We'll look forward to this weekend, though. I do like the card on DAZN, especially the top 2 fights. Cal Yafai against Roman Gonzalez is, you know, odds, like the betting odds, that's the closest. That's pretty much the closest to a 50-50 fight right there on that card. And that's an interesting fight because, you know, obviously Cal's the younger, fresher guy, but it really comes down to where Roman Gonzalez is. Is he a shop-worn fighter, or does he have a little left in the tank? Is this time out of the ring as far as in a big, big fight, in a punishing fight? You know, he hasn't been in one of those in a little while now, so maybe that time away, time training, time just, you know, healing, maybe that's going to help him. Either way, I'm definitely interested in that fight. Like I said, that is the 50-50 fight. And then Mikey Garcia and Jesse Vargas, does it mean a ton at the weight class as far as, like, whoever wins is, you know, a guy to be reckoned with? No, not necessarily, but it still means a whole lot at the weight class for them. this is basically a welterweight crossroads fight for both of them. And although Vargas is, further along in his career than Mikey Garcia in some ways anyway, because Mikey did take that break, that long, long break. If you think about it, this is a big fight for Mikey at welterweight because it's like, dude, if he loses this fight, he's not going to be able to compete at a high level at 147. And a possible Manny Pacquiao or other fights won't happen, or they surely won't mean much in the case. And then Jesse Vargas, he's a guy that fought a Bradley, fought a Manny Pacquiao at this weight, and, in some ways showed where his level was. He's had some decent wins. The Saddam Ali was a big win for him. There's been some big wins. But like I said, at welterweight, we pretty much don't put him in the top three, Jesse Vargas. You know what I mean? So this is like a must-win for both, and that's why I call it a crossroads fight. I'm not saying Mikey is just done for in his career, but at this weight class, I'd say this is for sure a crossroads fight. So I want to see, and he's been out of the ring for almost a year, and he's going to need his skills, his sharpening skills, right? He's gonna need those skills sharpened, is what I meant. It's really interesting to me. I like the fight. I think it's a good fight. So I'm looking forward to this, especially like I said, the top two. I call it a triple header just because of the top three fights, but Martinez is in there with Harris, who's not really tested. I think stylistically that could be a fun fight though, and maybe Harris will, raise above what the betting lines and what a lot of folks, or maybe not a lot of folks, but some folks think as far as his chance of winning the fight. It should be interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like a good card on paper. And, I'm not going to call it a monster. I know that, I see some people repeating that because, Eddie Hearn called it a monster. Like it's the best card ever. And I'm not going to call it a monster. To me, if you're going to call something a monster, you do have to have a monster main event. I wouldn't really call it a monster main event. But that's not taking anything away from it. I know that's going to bother some, DAZN folks, pro DAZN, and that's it. But this is a good card. I like it a lot. And like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Okay. So, before we get into it, though, if this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, it streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. You can find it streams live at Archives. It's basically the headquarters. However, if you want to listen to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, you don't just have to download it or listen to it on Blog Talk. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, really all across the board. I'm also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which can be found everywhere, including iHeartRadio and Spotify, too. I forgot to mention that. You can use your Siri or Alexa through Spotify or TuneIn to find the platforms. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. That's the gruelingtruth.com. They got a great sponsor over there, betnow.eu with the promo code TGT. Head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. It's boxing, it's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's everything in between. And one more thing real quick, okay? If you're thinking about cutting the cord or you have and you're not quite happy, I got something for you. I do it myself, okay? It's called AT&T TV Now. It's live streaming cable. If your internet sucks, I got an alternative for you that might work for you. But it's AT&T TV Now. They have a 7-day free trial. There's no annual contract. The plans start as low as $60 a month. You can stream it anywhere. They have the cloud DVR. And for boxing fans, it does seem like Showtime's back in the business of championship boxing, not just ShowBox and Clarissa Shields. $11 for Showtime right now. That's AT&T TV Now live streaming cable. But like I said, if you live in the outskirts where the internet is just bad, it's just garbage, there is AT&T TV. Okay, that is the normal cable package. It's a growing cable network. It's here in Minneapolis. It's in parts of New York, parts of Florida, parts of California, parts of Texas, all the way up to Seattle in the Northwest, other places in the Midwest like St. Louis. So basically, just go to the website, Google AT&T TV, put your area code in there, see if you got it. Otherwise, if your internet works like pretty damn well, then I'd try this live streaming cable, AT&T TV now. Okay. So where do we start? Where do we start? Well, obviously at the top. The event itself, though, the attention it got the last couple of months, we don't know the pay-per-view numbers just yet. Ultimately, it is what it is. They sound like they're going to be good. Whether that's making some money on the event and doing 850 or 800 or 750 or whatever, or whether that's hitting $1 million or 1.2 and beyond, whatever that is. I have no clue what it is. So we'll find out that part of it. But either way, the gate does tell you something. And just the attention. I mean, I had friends that I haven't talked to about boxing in quite some time calling me before the fight, after the fight, minutes right before. So anytime you get boxing on that level, it's a great thing. And you got to appreciate the positivities of boxing. You can't just, the second later when the fight's done, to focus on fuck a trilogy. Wilder and Fury's just garbage now. I only want to see one fight, and that's Fury Joshua. Everything else sucks. You know what I mean? Because it's like, dude, come on now. You knew there was a possibility for a trilogy. Stop being a little kid. You're sitting there complaining and crying, actually crying about what Deontay Wilder's crying about. So it's funny. Wilder's making excuses. You could say he's crying over spilt milk. He's just kicking rocks. He's all, this is why I lost. Okay, that's cool. I agree. But what are you so worried about it for, though? Make fun of him, but also appreciate what Fury did. A lot of this gets lost on social media. Either you got folks calling Fury the best heavyweight all the time, or of all time, or you got folks just focused on Deontay Wilder because that gets you retweets and likes. You can do both. You can sit there and say, hey, Wilder, stop with the excuses, dude. It's pretty easy. You can make fun of him. Of course, there was going to be a bunch of memes. That's part of it. This is part of the internet and the social media, world that we live in. But to just be so mad that you might have to, wait until the end of the year for a Joshua fight with Fury, when you already know that was probably going to be the case. Or some folks, based off what Wilder's been saying as far as all these excuses, now some folks, especially the stuff he said about, his legs being gone before he came in, and then also the stuff he said, he's very disappointed at his trainer. He hasn't made the decision to can Mark Breland, but he's going over. He's mulling over. He's been pissed about it. Okay, that's cool. But I've also seen those same people say that now they want to see Wilder get his ass kicked and beat down to the point where he can't fight anymore. But you are the one talking about how Breland saved his life. So you see what I'm saying? Like, to fight ignorance with ignorance, to fight biasness with biasness, racist with racist, whatever it is. It's just like, really, dude? So I thought you cared about Deontay because you were so happy with Mark Breland, which I'm happy what Mark Breland did. I'm glad that he decided to do that. I mean, Wilder's legs were gone. But it's just really funny now because he's mad. Oh, my God, a fighter mad at his corner for throwing in the towel. Yeah, we've never seen that in boxing. And that's where it's like, guys, you're either biased or you just don't really watch much boxing. The worst ones are the ones that have seen all this stuff. They talk about how much of a boxing historian they are, but then they bring up shit like this is the worst thing. People are calling Wilder all sorts of ignorant shit, and I'm not just talking about race stuff. I'm talking about like judging him as a person so deeply, like the guy doesn't have a good bone in his body now because he wanted to go out on his shield. Like we haven't heard that before. I mean, did you see Diego Corrales' expression in his thought process and some of his comments after he got, and rest in peace, but after, his dad, I believe, stopped. Didn't his dad stop it, or was it Goosen at that time? I can't remember, but he was pissed at his guy. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, dude, what the hell? You're this, you're that. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're going to personally attack fighters for something they say after, like, really judge them as a full person, like you know them, then you need to judge every fighter. Because Fury has said plenty of shit that's ignorant and racist and like super ignorant, I mean, even him saying the one true God is really sending a message that everybody else's religion besides him is garbage. That's basically what he's saying. You know what I mean? So there's so many ways to look at this stuff. You can't just choose to look at it one way. But let's talk about the actual fight. Like I said, this was a great event, and I'm so glad it wasn't a jab and grab. I am really glad. I'm really glad that Wilder, even though his legs got that way, whether it was because he got hit, behind the head and that messed him up, or because of the weight, of that and the walking around. Great. We're going to get into all that, by the way. But that's cool, all that stuff. But he didn't go down. He showed a lot of heart in that ring. And Fury also lived up to what he said. He said he was going to bring the fight. He didn't go brawling. He was smart. When it was tied up, he put his weight on him. He was rough and rugged in there. That was very crafty, very smart. And like I said, he lived up to what he said he was going to do. So we really got, it could have been more two-way the whole fight. We could complain about that a little bit. But, none of these fights, there's not going to be one fight that's going to be perfect for the casuals. You know what I mean? So first and foremost, I'm really happy that we got ourselves at least some action, and it wasn't, like I mentioned, just a jab and grab thing. When you have this many eyeballs from the casuals, I'm really happy that it turned out this way. Now, like I said, would you have liked it two-way? Would you have liked the fight play out for from rounds 3 to 6? Would you have liked them to look like rounds 1 and 2? Yeah, of course. But that's not how it went. You know what I mean? And let's talk about the first round. You could see Wilder did jab pretty well early and throw his right hand, but it was the crisper jab and a few mini attacks that had Fury landing the better shot. The second round was close. I think one of the judges gave it to him. I understand that to an extent. I mean, Fury even said in those first 2 rounds, especially the second round, that he hit him with a really good right hand. And, so maybe you could give that to Wilder the second round just because he did actually land a few overhand rights along with his jab. But either way, it didn't really matter. You know what I mean? But it was competitive. And like I said, after 2 rounds, they put up a stat saying they both had landed 10 jabs. And I thought, wow, 10 jabs through 2 rounds, that's pretty good for Wilder. You know what I mean? And like I mentioned, Fury said it himself that he did see some improvements out of Wilder early in the fight with those right hands. And I thought, I did see that. There was a really nice late right hand that could have stole that round for Fury. You did see Wilder get one back. It really came down to that last right hand. One of the last right hands that Fury landed was that bigger than one of the shots earlier that Wilder landed. But either way, after that round, I thought, okay, dude, this is going to be a good fight. I think it was 30-20 for Lands after 2 rounds. And like I said, 10-10 jabs. I was like, okay, this is going to be something. And then pretty much after that, it went south quick as far as two-way. Now, obviously, this is where Fury, he scored a knockdown. And sure, he did hit him in the back of the head. But these things do happen, for the people that are only looking at it from a Wilder perspective, like, Wilder got screwed. He got hit behind the head on the side of the head, back of the. Well, it was the back of the head in this one, but if you watch a fair amount of boxing, even throughout a month, I'm not even saying week to week, but just watching a handful of fights. If you watched 6 fights in the last month, right? There's a good chance you're going to see a side of the head shot, right on the ear, below the ear, in the back of the head. It just happens. It happens. And Wilder was ducking, you know what I mean, or shot, so that plays into it too. And, actually the first fight, that first knockdown in the 9th round that Wilder scored, he hit him, on the side of the head, and then as he was a little off balance, and Fury was trying to duck both those too. He ducked, got hit on the side of the head, and it wobbled him a little bit, and then he got hit on the back of the head when he was already going down, basically, like on his way down. And so it kind of just, it didn't affect his legs like that, but, it happens. My point is, this thing happens a whole lot. So do body shots that are in between or low. We see so many body shots that's straight low, but it's only in the big important fights that people care about them. You know what I mean? It's just like the Kovalev-Ward situation. There's still folks that believe the only reason why Kovalev lost is because of 19 different body shots that went low. And most, if not everything he threw was low. You know what I mean? That's what they'll literally say. Like, that's why he lost the fight. It had nothing to do with being hurt to the body numerous times. Had nothing to do with that huge right hand and more body shots after that. It was only the low blow. You see what I'm saying? So there's always an agenda with folks on here, and that's just how it goes. You just kind of got used to it. Sometimes I got to rant about it, but however it came, whether his legs were gone or not, my nephew, I have a couple of nephews that watch boxing. One of them is more of a boxing fan and tunes in to multiple fighters and multiple fights, and wants to know more about the sport. One of them is just more of a casual, but he did notice Wilder early on, like, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? Like, there's just something wrong with him. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't see it, I went back and watched it, and, I really don't know. Like, if his legs felt weak before getting in there, or if he just can't admit that he was that hurt. Wilder said he was more hurt in the Luis Ortiz fight. In some ways, as far as the whole body, looking at his whole demeanor and body, it did look like he was more hurt there. It did, but the legs in this one is what was shot. Like, his legs were just gone. So, like I said, however that happened, past that 3rd round, it was like, whoa, like, his legs are gone. He's shot, and you could just see the pressure and, numerous in the next, 4 or 5 rounds, just numerous big lands, whether it's a jab right hand, whether it's a left hook. There was a body shot in the 5th round that dropped them. It kind of looked like they may have tripped a little bit, but that was also maybe it was the 6th round that the point deduction happened. So, and we knew Kenny Bayless would insert himself into this somehow. The penalty did seem a little like, okay, you got to warn him more, give him a stern warning. Because like I said, we see falls all the time during breaks or after breaks and all that. You got to give him more a stern warning. But he also could have gave, a more stern warning after. Clearly Fury was attacking the ear once it was bleeding. And it's good news that the eardrum didn't rupture. It just looked really bad. I think it was, what they say, 7 stitches or something like that. It was just bleeding, and then the bone, like the cheekbone before his ear, it was like swollen compared to his other side. So I think that's why it made it look so much worse. And the fact that, something was wrong with his legs. You know what I mean? Equilibrium, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, there was something wrong with his legs. So I think we just all assumed it was, well, his equilibrium's messed up. And we all know whether it's on the chin, to the temple, to the side of the head, there are just back of the head, there are shots that fighters just cannot come back from. We saw it with Anthony Joshua. You know, he was only able to box on the outside for a couple rounds. Really wasn't himself all the way back in that fight. It is what it is, but regardless, you know, the body work, like I said, I really liked how, because it wasn't all just, I'm brawling. He mentioned that in and I mentioned this on the show last week. Fury mentioned that he's not going to sit there and just go, you know, like my jab is going to be, you know, my face is going to be my jab. Like I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. He didn't do that at all. In fact, when the fight started, you could see him actually run out there, and then he stopped, and then he jabbed his way in and started throwing power shots. So I really liked what he did. He did shorten the gap, but he also used angles and still rolled with the punches. Still would get out of range and then get back into range and then get out, then get in. And so I liked how he blended it. I did think he'd blend it like that. I thought he did a really good job of using his weight. And it is kind of funny when we talk about weight, when you know, it does take out of your legs and your whole body when you put your weight on somebody. So that is a true statement, no matter what you think of the gear and the weight, you know, all that type of stuff. That's what I'm, you know, attributing it to. But, you know, by the time, what was it, the seventh round, he was up on the rope, was Wilder in the corner, I should say, and there was some big shots landed, and right when Wilder was throwing his own hook back, that actually was maybe his better land in a couple of rounds, they stopped the fight. And obviously Wilder, you know, wants to go out on his shield. This whole thing of people are so mad at Wilder. It's like, just be more mad at his head trainer, because he's the one, Jay's the one who didn't want to stop the fight. You can't really get mad at the fighter for getting mad at his trainer for throwing in the towel. If you're mad at him, you haven't been this emotionally invested in a sport before, like, or you're too invested in a certain fraction of the sport, or just theory or whatever, or you just hate Wilder. I don't know what it is, but we see this from time to time. Guys get up from a knockdown and they're in bad shape, and you say, dude, and they'll be like, dude, I'm fine. What? I'm fine. You're like, no, you're not fine, dude. We're stopping the fight. You know, so of course it was a great call by Mark Breland. He was wavering, and he tried to go with it. Whether on, you know, Anthony Durrell, you know, within earshot was screaming something about, hey, throw the towel in, even though he is trained by, you know, Sugar Hill, whatever that conspiracy thing is. Like I said, I've heard a lot of excuses, but the point is, it was a good call. But I can understand Wilder. Did the fighter wants to go out on his shield? Just deal with it. You guys want these guys to be warriors. And, like, in a lot of ways, they act like they're not even humans in that ring. They do some stuff that the vast majority would never put their body through in camp and in the ring. And then to get that mad, like I said, get mad at Jay as his head trainer. You know, don't get mad just at Wilder. Mark Breland made a good decision. I can understand you throwing a punch, you landed it, and you're like, why are you stopping the fight? He was confused. Wilder was confused at the start. They had to tell him, hey, dude, I didn't stop the fight. Your trainer did. You know, your corner did. And he was mad at him. And he said, you know, I got some thinking to do about my team and about Breland and everything like that. And, you know, would I, you know, disagree with him when it comes to, you know, getting rid of Breland? Although it's funny because a lot of people thought he should have got rid of this team a long time ago, Breland and Jay. So, you know, it's kind of contradicting now for those folks that said that before, and many people did. And the reason why they said that is because they're not improving him as much as maybe they could. And they are kind of going along with it instead of putting your foot down and changing certain things or whatever. I don't know. But the point is, would I be shocked if he changed trainers? No. I mean, Hall of Famers, change trainers. Look at how many times Oscar De La Hoya changed a trainer. Ruiz just changed his trainer. I mean, it is what it is. Like, if that's his decision, that's his decision. I'm not going to judge him on a personal level because we don't even know these people. A lot of people take interviews and act like that's the person, like we know them. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, if you're going to sit there and break down everything that everybody says, then we're going to be here a while. We're going to be here a whole long time because, like I said, just excuses in general. Let's get into that. Either way, before we get into that, Tyson Fury, a great win for him. He said what he was going to do. He lived up to it. Like I said, we didn't get a jab and grab or just a straight ugly fight. There was action. There was some two-way action early in the fight. It did go one way, but, it wasn't like a bunk fight, and even though you saw, like the casual fan actually did gain respect that didn't know Wilder in that fight because they're like, dude, this dude was out on his feet, and he still made it. Now, the excuse part, they're going to laugh at. Some people are laughing at that. Some people are like, dude, he's just embarrassed. It's pride. It's ego. There's just things that happen with that. But before I address that, let's focus on Tyson Fury. He got the W, and it's been a hell of a story, all him coming back from 2015 as far as, beating Vlad at that point. And it is funny to see that people love Tyson now when they didn't even count the Vlad fight because it was so boring. But now he's this master boxer. And it's like, so what he did because you like Vlad more, that didn't count then. They basically acted like it didn't count, even though he made Vlad look silly in that fight. But, kudos to Fury, dude. Like I said, so many different ways he did his thing here, and I'm happy for him. Now, I as an American fight fan, U.S. against U.K., I do love this rivalry. I think it's healthy. It's very ugly on Twitter, but Twitter's an ugly place. I really like it, though. And I was cheering for the U.S. fighter, just like a UK fighter would want Fury, or, fighters too. But UK fight fans, they want Fury. I picked Tyson Fury to win the fight. I put money on him. I put money on him to win. I also put money for Wilder for the knockout because it'd be stupid not to, just in case, right? So, all in all, it was a great weekend. We saw some knockdowns at least. We saw a guy show heart when his legs were clearly gone. And kudos to Fury. He is now the number one guy, hands down. I do want to see, the Anthony Joshua fight, but this is part of the best fighting the best. For you to now cry over spilt milk and cry like a little girl, boy, whatever, little baby is what I meant to say. It's just kind of funny. Like, how can you be so pissed and think like the Trilogy is just a piece of shit fight and it's completely worthless and all this stuff? It's such a selfish way to look at it. And a lot of these people probably stream the fight anyway. But it's funny that they're going to complain about a fight they're not even going to buy. They're just going to stream. You know what I mean? So we knew that there was a Trilogy potential. We knew the loser was going to get 40%, the winner gets 60%, and it's up to the loser for 30 days. Now, I think they have to actually exercise it. I don't think you can just say it. I think there is some paperwork involved. But it does sound like, from Wilder's wife, from his manager, Shelley Finkel, it does sound like he's going to exercise the rematch clause. And I, for one, respect that. I mean, the guy just his legs were gone, and he got beat up for like 4 or 5 straight rounds. And he's coming back for more. he could easily just go hide and just come back and go through like a couple more fights where he's just knocking people out. He makes a nice guarantee and then build up for a Joshua or Fury fight or whatever, right? He could do that, but it sounds like, and if he did that, I wouldn't disrespect him if he didn't want to take this fight. But I'm also not going to disrespect him because he wants to take the fight. See, that's not how big fights go and super fights go. And there's that respect. You know, it goes back to these fighters are afraid, and these networks and these, promoters and advisors and managers, they're all afraid of the O's to go. They don't want their O to go. Their guys' O to go. They're going to take the safe route before the big money fight. All this stuff about best fight and best. But then when an O goes, look what you guys do. You shit on the fight very next time. So that's a complete shit fight. I mean, thank God you weren't around for Roberto Duran's last chunk of his career. Even getting in the ring with Hagler, why would that fight need to happen? That's a garbage fight. Hagler hung in there. Duran hung in there. Or even Duran against Barkley. Shit, even Ali against, the first Frazier, people were like, I don't know about this. But even the second one, it's like, ugh. But really, the Foreman. So right now, George Foreman against Ali would look like a shit fight. That's a shit fight. That's what they'd be saying on Twitter right now. So you can't respect part of the fighting stuff and then disrespect the other. You know, you can wish that Wilder wouldn't exercise his rematch clause. You could hope. That's cool. But to sit there and now call it a shit fight, especially when we know a punch on the side of the head could change the fight. Like, didn't we just see AJ and Ruiz fight, and didn't AJ get hit on the side of the head, and didn't his legs look like shit for the rest of the fight? And then didn't he, and I saw some folks saying this, most of them were PBC fanboys, but I saw some folks saying this that seem a little in between that, I don't even want to see the Ruiz AJ. I don't want to, and most of it was fanboys from the PBC side. But I saw plenty of people saying that, I don't want to see the rematch. What do you mean you don't want to see the rematch, dude? Like, Anthony Joshua has every right to do that. What are you talking about? And like, you knew it had a rematch clause. So it's just funny what we choose to respect and what we disrespect. And even like, people would disrespect fighters, but if you disrespect them or even say something to them on Twitter, not even disrespecting, just facts, then they'll be like, dude, what the hell? Oh, so you can go around and berate all these fighters, but when I sit there and point out a fact to you, then it's like, why you calling me blind? Well, the fucking tweet's right there. You didn't see it. So I'm calling you blind for a reason, because what else is there? You said you didn't see it. I'm asking a legitimate question that happened actually not long ago. So kudos to Tyson Fury, okay? And, I'll admit, like, as a selfish boxing fan, Wilder winning this fight by knockout, because he's already said he's going to be here for at least 5 more years, would have been probably better long-term, 3 to 5 years, right? It probably would have. I'm admitting that. But Tyson, the only thing about Tyson Fury is he has a chance to cross over more because of his personality. But he's made it clear, like, this is his last. He's got about a year left, and he's done. So I have mixed feelings about the winner in this sense, because, man, Tyson, you're in such a great spot. You can really cross all the way over with your personality, dude. But does he want that? And on the flip side, if he did fight Wilder and beat him, and then fight Joshua and beat him, and then retired, I'd be happy as hell for Fury, though, too. Because how many guys go out on top? Andre Ward went out on top. Or at least some people thought he went out on top. Other people think he just cheap shot at Kovalev the whole fight. So I'd be happy as hell to see Fury go out, on top and healthy and be happy about it, So I'm torn when it comes to that. This guy can be such a crossover star. He's so much bigger than he was. and now that WWE really helped. Just going through what they call the car wash, the Radio Row, all the different shows through ESPN did help. The actual, the last round of the first fight is what really blew him up here as well. But now he's blown up all the way. And when you win by knockout, when you beat someone's ass like that, people are gonna respond, especially when you're funny in the interview. So, would I have liked him to do like a big, like little tour around here in New York and LA and been on all these shows? Yeah. But, he's home. I think he's already back in Manchester. So either way, no matter what, no matter what he gives us these last, if this is his last go around, I respect that too. It's just the greedy part that I'm admitting as a boxing fan. Like, damn, dude, if you could just hang around for a couple more years, you're too funny, you're too much of a crossover star, and you're too talented. You can beat anybody. Now, as far as Wilder, we're getting to Wilder a couple ways. Obviously, we got to talk about the excuses. But as far as, should he take this third fight, I'm torn. Could anything different happen in the third fight? Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll play out just like it did. Maybe it will. Maybe he'll land a temple shot that has Fury, backing up and not. I really think that this style from Fury, the way he did it with the jab, and he still used his defense coming forward and kind of trying to add some bully stuff in there and some roughhousing. I think this is actually the much better way, now that we've seen it, to fight Wilder if you can do this style. I'm talking about for Fury, than being on the outside, because you got to be so perfect on the outside, whereas you do, like we talked about and like he talked about, getting closer does put you out of range of being at the end of Wilder's punch. So I really think that this is the best way to do it. Oops. All right. I almost messed up there. Sorry about that. So, all right. Sorry about that. I've been ignoring something. Okay. My bad. Now, should it be any different? The thing is, it's like, I don't really know. I thought Fury would win the fight. So it's not, I think he could still win the fight, but something could happen. And in the end, so many people this go around, are going to be like, Wilder's going to get his ass kicked now. But there was, the betting odds favored, Wilder barely, but it did. And a lot of experts picked Wilder. So a lot of them now are going to say, oh, this is going to be just a repeat. They did this with the Wilder-Ortiz rematch too, and that definitely, they underestimated what Ortiz was in general and where he was in his career still. They just thought, it's old, he's going to get knocked out quick, So could it be different? Yeah. Will I support it? Yeah, because that's part of best versus best. I can go to the movie theater and watch that. You don't have to pay full price pay-per-view per se. It matters where you live in the country, but yeah, I'll respect the fact if Wilder does take this third fight. I really will respect it. And it makes a lot of sense. He's going to make a lot of money. And like I said, how damaging is it really going to be? Now, you could say if he takes more punishment, it could be damaging, but he's already lost. He already got beat by knockout. He was already out there looking like, his leg's gone. So he's not going to look any worse. So if he fights, the worst thing that could happen is he loses again. That's not going to hurt him, though. Value-wise, it's not going to hurt him. I really don't think so. Any worse than it already has right here. You know what I mean? I don't think, because most people are going to say, I just think it's a bad style matchup. But I'll say this, I do think Wilder against Joshua, Dillian White, Ruiz, some of these other fights, I fully think it's quite possible he could knock out plenty of those guys. So that kind of goes back to you sit there and, berate all these fighters for not wanting to let their O go. But when their O goes, now you just disrespect them. So, okay, so what? He lost, let's say he loses to Fury again. Okay, so now he can't beat anybody in the top 10 now? Is that what you're saying? He's now lost his knockout punch? Like, it's not over for him. And by the way, you can't take what happened at the weigh-in when the boos came out that heavy. It was cheers that turned into, well, it didn't turn it. It was cheers and boos for Wilder at the weigh-in. It just, the cheers fell off, and the boos from the UK fans kept going. The UK fans, the Mexican fight fans, those are the fans that are going to be the loudest at an event. But it is quite funny, like Montero and a bunch of folks now completely taking anything Heyman and PBC and Wilder did to help this event and to build Wilder in general. Now Wilder has no fans, even though at the gate they did better in the last fight than the first fight with Fury. You know what I mean? Like, it's really discrediting it to the fact. I mean, now all of a sudden black fight fans don't go to. It's like, did you ever go to a Floyd Mayweather fight? Did you go to Floyd Mayweather and Shane Mosley, two black fighters fighting each other? Did you go there? Because I did, and I saw a lot of black people there. I didn't see just UK and Mexican fight fans. We know that they stand out. They're the loudest. I mean, the only time the MGM Grand ran out of beer was the Hatton Mayweather fight, because they come to party. They support their guys. I respect both of those fan bases, but now it's as if, now Wilder didn't even have a fan base. You know what I mean? It's really funny how that works, and it's very telling. But as far as the excuses, here's the thing. I say this all the time. There's reasons and there's excuses. A lot of times you hear excuses, and they're just that, excuses. Whether it's pride, embarrassment, ego, all that wrapped up together. Can't admit. They just can't admit it, And in this case, I'm going to flip it. The excuses and reasons, okay? Let's just go down this path. Let's take Wilder for his word, okay? So his reason is he had a heavy-ass outfit, right? I think he said at 45 pounds or whatever, 40, 50 pounds, I forgot what it was. And he said he had that thing on for 15 or 20 minutes, and then from the locker room to the ring, that by the time he got there, he felt that his legs were diminished to a point where he was going to have some problems. Right? Okay. Let's just say that. So that's his reason, okay? Point with this reason is there's no excuse in this reason, because it was self-inflicted. So even if that is true, and, I have done some of that, run or walk with weights, on your body, and sure, and not only that, but remember Andre Ward pointed out that Wilder was pacing around, and that stuff burns energy. So when you're, I remember Kevin Garnett used to burn so much energy, he didn't even realize he was doing it, but burned so much energy before games that he had to get all zen on the bench and store up the energy and learn how to contain it for the game. Oscar De La Hoya before and during would be so tight that he would burn energy. And remember, Oscar was known for gassing late in some fights. So, but the point is, if that's his reason, there's no excuse for it. If there's no excuse. It's on you, Deontay Wilder, and it's on your team. Now, hear me out on that. It's on you because you chose to have something, like that elaborate, where it was going to put some weight on you, okay? And it's your own fault if you didn't realize it was going to be that heavy. That's still your own fault. Now, the walking around pacing, the thing that Andre Ward said, hey, dude, you're gonna ruin your legs like that. Sit down. Andre Ward brought it up for an exact reason, you know? And I think it was Porter or somebody else said, you know, he's not going to be using his legs. He's going to be trying to knock him out. Okay, still, you know. Like I said, is that a legitimate – could that be a legitimate reason? Maybe. Maybe. But the point is there's no excuse for that reason. Like I said, one of your team members, your trainer, your co-trainer, they could have said, hey, Deontay, take a seat. Get off your feet. You're going to wear down your legs. Calm down. Sit down. You know? I mean, some folks used to say Mayweather looks like he's taken a nap before. You know what I mean? You saw Fury was lounging on the couch. And before he was lounging on the couch for quite a while there was. But then he did get up and pace. And so let's just say they're legit reasons. Okay, well then there's still no excuse for him though, because it's you. It's you and or your team too. Because like I said, the team member could have been like, hey dude, sit down. But as far as the equipment that you put on yourself, 40 pounds, you had it on for 15 or 20 minutes, you did the long walk, and then you went up the stairs. Sure, is there a potential that could have diminished or taken some energy out of your legs? Yeah, of course. But you know what? There's no excuse. And we've heard, I mean, like I said, these reasons and excuses. In fact, Andre Ward, right? He won the fight, the first fight, Kovalev. A lot of people thought Kovalev did enough in that fight. I was one of them. I did think that Kovalev pulled it off. I thought it was a 6-6 fight, and the knockdown pulled it off in the first fight. But Andre Ward didn't make excuses because he won the fight, so he wasn't making excuses. But I remember well past post-fight, right, weeks later, and even during the camp, you know, for the rematch, he actually started to say that he actually wasn't 100% in that fight. And so some people were like, oh, he's making excuses. He's saying this, he's saying that, right? And then you saw his body during camp. And you're like, and a lot of people went to the PED saying, oh, dude, he's definitely on. Look at how much bigger he is. He's so much better shape. And then you listen to him, and he said, dude, my knee was messed up. Like, I couldn't do my road work. I couldn't do every type of thing I want to do in training camp. And when he came back for that rematch, you saw his body was different. So that reason was an actual reason. It wasn't an excuse. But let's not forget, I mean, Vladimir Klitschko, he thought he got poisoned once when he got knocked all over the ring. Pacquiao, still to this day, you know, I'm not trying to pun there, but to this day, but Pacquiao still thinks he beat Floyd Mayweather in a fight. I mean, if that's not delusional, I don't know what that is. Plus, he didn't start talking about the shoulder until after the press was like, well, we're not going to back you on that. You didn't lose. He even to this day, he says that. Remember, he blamed the blood test they took before the Morales fight on the first loss of Morales. Remember that? Remember Clottey? He said he had diarrhea. That's why. You know, Cotto doesn't even do the interview a lot of times. He just leaves the ring and changes the trainer. Like I mentioned, Oscar, you know, he freaking changed trainers like it's going out of style. So fighters, like I said, it's ego, it's pride, it's embarrassment. It's all wrapped into one. And so am I going to sit there and judge Wilder any differently than I judge other folks that made excuses? No, because I know it's part of the game. Now, is some of the stuff ridiculous, like saying some of the stuff you just got to keep to yourself? Like, why not keep that to yourself, though? Like, if it was your legs that were gone, whether it was the punch on the back of the head or they were gone before, just keep it to yourself and come out in the rematch a better fighter then because you have your legs, right? Or, you know, you don't have to add the Anthony Durrell layer to it. Now, maybe he was screaming that, but just keep it to yourself, dude. And that's really what my biggest criticism for Wilder is like, I've heard many of excuses over the years, but some of them you just got to keep to yourself. And some of these guys just aren't going to ever change. That's just the way they do it. Like I said, Cotto, I don't really remember too many fights that Cotto, the ones he lost, that he stayed in the ring and did the interview. And I remember people saying, oh, he's disrespectful, he's not a real champ, all that stuff. Being a champ in defeat, just like a champ in victory, I get all that stuff. But if you've watched it enough, you've seen, this stuff play out. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not going to disrespect him, or I'm going to respect him if he wants this rematch. That's totally up to him. Like I said, though, it was really funny to see, and you could see this in the build-up to Mayweather and Pacquiao, where it became like the platform wars. And the last few days on Twitter, Twitter's disgusting and great all in wrapped into one. It's phenomenal, breaking news. There's so much information on it, but there's also just a bunch of garbage, right? And it's great that this fight happened and it went down like this, because I can really see now on the timeline, if I was in between on someone, are they just a platform fanboy? Are they just pro PBC and that's it? Or are they just anti PBC and that's it? Or are they a boxing fan too? And you can really, if your timeline only talks about one side and that's it, you can pretty much tell that you're not really a boxing fan. You're just a fanboy of a couple of fighters, and you're worried about this platform shit more than you're worried about all this stuff, And, a lot of people ran with the Rick Glazier thing. Rick Glazier literally said, secondly, Wilder picked up by far his biggest paycheck of his career for the beatdown and receive. And for that, he can thank Bob Arum, who had the vision and the plan to make Wilder Fury the biggest heavyweight fight since Lewis and Tyson. Yes, a real promoter, Bob Arum, was the driving force behind turning a fight into an event. Are you serious? He barely, if you think about it, Bob barely even spoke at those press conferences. He did some interviews to YouTube guys and to the press, the boxing press, but he wasn't doing national interviews left and right. This fight got big because of the networks and because they had built, because of the first fight, and also because of what they built and who built who longer. Wilder's been built on network TV way longer. So it's just, people take this Rick Glazier shit and run with it. So the number one reason why this fight did so well is because of Bob Arum. Had nothing to do with Fox and ESPN, had nothing to do with the networks. And then, like I said, we all know Fox pushes every fight, or most fights, and especially the big ones, they push them like crazy, way more than ESPN. Now, the last 10 days, and especially Fight Week, I did really like what ESPN did, and credit to them. I think they're going to learn off of this. I think that's why they're going to try Lomachenko and Lopez on pay-per-view, because I think they're going to I hope they promote it heavy during the playoffs, the NBA playoffs, which would be perfect. It's at the end of May is what they're looking at for the fight. But anyway, the networks have been the biggest push when it comes to pay-per-view sales and all that. It's clear as day in the Fox pay-per-views compared to the last chunk with Kovalev and Ward, both those fights, Golovkin-Lemieux, Golovkin-Jacobs, even a legit fight like Crawford and Postol. Fox has been exposing it to the casual fans. That's just, and my point is that the number one thing is the networks in this fight. And who got the networks interested in boxing again? Was it Bob Arum? Did he get the networks? Or was it Al Heyman? Let's be honest. Was the one who got him interested in this? And it's pretty obvious. And you could call me biased. I'm just talking facts here. So we'll see. We'll see if anything could happen differently. We've seen fighters say, Jarrett Hurd said he was going to do it, I'm getting the rematch, and then he decided not to. So maybe Wilder won't. I don't know. Navarrete took care of business. There wasn't really much to that fight. Charles Martin in Washington. It took a little while to heat up. Then it got going a little bit more. Washington actually did win a couple of rounds. I think someone had it all for Charles Martin. I thought it was a two-way fight. But there were some huge shots, I believe, in the fifth round by Martin. The last, minute, 70 seconds of that, landed some big shots. And obviously the left hand, I think it was a left hook, TKO, landed a big shot there. The most interesting fight on the undercard as far as the pay-per-view, Javier Molina came up with a big win, by the way. Gabriel Flores Jr. was in a fight where he won fairly easy, but Fundora and Daniel Day-Lewis, that's what we kept calling him. Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel drop a bomb Lewis, right? I think that's what it was. That was actually a good prospect two-way fight. Both of them were unbeaten. Fundora at the start was kind of jabbing on the outside and from time to time would land the uppercut. But I still think Fundora is just best at range or coming forward. I don't think he's best on his back foot. I understand why they want to do that because of his height, but it just hasn't transferred yet. But he's got some time. But I did think Daniel Day-Lewis I'm just messing with him. But he actually was landing some hard hooks and some really good body shots. I gave him the second round and the third round. He was landing the shorter, harder shots. Some competitive rounds, two-way rounds. I thought Fundora basically started taking the fight over, though. He landed a really great uppercut, maybe 50 seconds left, I wrote down, in the seventh round. It was a good fight. Like I said, Fundora just kind of separated himself down the stretch. I had it 7-3, 6-4, but probably 7-3. To me, it was like 149-77. You know what I mean? He really started just separating himself. Like I said, 97, 93, 98, 92, and 99, 91. I didn't think that was. I thought it was a 7-3 fight. I have it written down here actually. Yeah, 7-3. So good prospect fight. I'll say that. But that's about it for the undercard. I'm not going to go into too much depth there. So yeah, I just making sure I actually got I got some messages here. I kept thinking it's the chat or something. All right, so all right, just making sure. Sorry about this. All right. Sometimes you get text messages. It's kind of like my chat, and it's as far as for the show. And sometimes people help me out. Yeah. There's a couple people that has said about Joshua Clottey. Actually, someone who the hell reminded me on Twitter. Shouts out to you. Why the fuck can't I remember who did that? But someone brought up the Clottey thing, the diarrhea and Clottey thing. That's funny. So yeah, I do favor, Fury in a rematch. Obviously, I had him in this fight anyway. However, Wilder's legs got that way. They got that way. I'm not going to sit here and speculate too much more. But if Wilder could fight the way he fought in the first two rounds, for more rounds, well, then it would be a really fun fight to watch, I think. These rematches, they take a different turn. Sometimes they become even more one-sided than they were in the first place. So you get a mixed bag is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, either way, though, like I said, I was really happy with the event. I thought Fox and ESPN did great. It was really great to see ESPN get behind a fight like this. Obviously, we'll see if they do this on fights where it's not just pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Let's hope that they get behind more fights in general. Obviously, UFC getting the bigger deal there does hurt it, and they just don't have that many big fights on ESPN or ESPN Plus per se throughout a year. You know what I mean? So that's the key, man. When they got a good fight, I really hope that this kind of even helps Top Rank kind of talk them in the more like, hey, dude, you know, we can make these guys more mainstream, but you got to help us. You know what I mean? I understand the ESPN side of it too because, you know, like I said, they paid way more for UFC and they have a lot of other sports. They are a sports network, so I get it, but it would be nice for some of these fighters to get a little bit more push because when they put their push towards it, man, it's really big, and you can tell that, you know, when Fox does it, and they do it a lot, they like I said, they don't have UFC anymore. They actually get, like, this is a really good deal for them if you compare it to both sides of the deals. You know, this is a really good deal for Fox. They paid a lot less for what they were going to have to pay for UFC. They get a small cut of the pay-per-view. So that's also why Fox is behind it more. You know, compared to ESPN or ESPN2, FS1 should really be compared to ESPN2 and not ESPN. You know, so it's easier to put a bunch of programming on to a network that's still trying to gain traction with ratings, FS1, compared to ESPN. So that you got to keep that in the equation of why certain things get more promotion than others. You know what I mean? It's all about where you're at on the scale there. And but like I said, it's great to see two big networks, you know, pushing a fight. So that was phenomenal. That was great. And so there are actually two fights, Top Rank and PBC, that are going to be on a PBC and an ESPN. There's going to be both. There's going to be one on ESPN and one on, I think it's on Showtime. I'm not quite sure. So that's cool already. And these are fights that they talked about potentially, you know, for the undercard, but they just couldn't quite get them done. And they probably thought, well, shit, these are actually decent fights, you know. Let's put them on let's put them on this instead, which, you know, it doesn't surprise me that that's probably what they were, you know, coming up with. But yeah, there is some interesting stuff coming up that we'll talk about in the near future, and we'll see if, you know, now when you look at Spence and Crawford, you know, if they can both find some opponents here in the meanwhile, you know, that type of fight, you know, Crawford's not as known as a Fury on that side, right? Wilder and Spence Wilder's probably a little ahead of them if you look at gate revenue and all that, but Spence is, you know, got a big name too, but you put Spence and Crawford together, we know that's a huge fight. It would be pretty cool if they got the same rollout. Like, I'm not down to marinate every fight, but in the long run, if they could make the Spence Crawford for this exact date next year where the NFL is over and the college basketball, the March Madness thing hasn't kicked in yet, the NBA playoffs aren't until April, NBA, even All-Star Weekend was done, right? So it was a perfect promo time to use college football and NFL playoffs to go all the way with it, and I would love that. I definitely think that would be dope. So we'll see, though. You know, we'll see if that is the case. That's kind of what it kind of makes – it kind of seems like it, you know, it sounds like that. But as far as that 30-day – you know, he has 30 days, Wilder does, to exercise. Now, they have a date. July 18th is the last day under their agreement that they can do the fight. But there is some maneuvering. There is some flexibility potential. And it may, you know what I mean, it may be a little later than July. It may be in July. It's tough to say. And like I said, Jared Hurd was very sure that he was going to take the rematch. But he didn't. So you never know. Maybe Wilder's saying this, and the more time he has to unwind and think about it, maybe he won't take it. You never know. You never know. I doubt it. Money-wise, I doubt it. But, yeah, it was cool to see, like, after the fight, how many different things were trending. I mean, Mayweather was trending. Wilder, Fury, Gypsy King, Mike Tyson, like Apollo Creed, damn Wilder, Holyfield. Like, there were so many things trending on Twitter that night. Just trying to give you a view of just how cool of a weekend it was when the casuals come out. You know what I mean? They said they did really good at activating over 3,000 bars nationwide, by far the highest number for boxing in the last 15 years. They definitely did great at the gate, obviously. So yeah, it's good to see that. You know, it is good to see that. But then you have, you know, some of this media, like Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas after the fight, and this is so Teddy Atlas, right? Now he said, I remember him saying that the 10-2 scorecard for Canelo and Golovkin, favoring Canelo, is just garbage, which we all know it's horrible. But remember, he had it 10-2 for Golovkin, though, which is also a bad scorecard. Well, here he is right after the fight, and this is what just makes you scratch your head and you know what he's doing this stuff for. Like, he said, if people got mad at me when I said Wilder doesn't have any skill and has no clue how to behave like a fighter. That's what he texted or tweeted. Now, he did, before this happened, or, you know, before the post-fight stuff, even before this stuff, before he did his prediction and all that, he did say, I'm going to walk back the behaving like a fighter, because he said when I saw that Ortiz fight that he did behave like a fighter. It's just the skill level, right? But the funny thing is, so he tweets that, right? Cool. Okay. We know that skill level, you know, Wilder was not a top-level skill level guy. That's been known for a while. And, you know, the folks that say he got exposed, Wilder got exposed. Like, have you been watching? Have you been watching his fights, dude? He was exposed a long time ago. Like, he got exposed. Like, what are you talking about? He got exposed. But he said, basically, Teddy Atlas said, and you guys got mad at me. You got mad at me for saying he has no skill and he doesn't know how to behave like a fighter. And he also said, what's up with that power punch now, or whatever, that one-punch knockout now? Well, the funny thing is about Teddy is he picked Deontay Wilder to win by knockout. And a bunch of people got after him on Twitter. I know I did, because it's like, oh, okay, so if he has no skill and he doesn't know how to behave like a fighter, he has no clue, why in the world did you pick him, Teddy? Why? How can you do this, Teddy? But I know how he can do it, because now with Teddy, for years now, it's just a bit about attention. You know, he wants to keep it real. He wants to say stuff. He spazzes out at commissions, and I applaud him for all this stuff. But when you pick a fighter to win a fight, and then after say, I told you he didn't have skill, where's that power now? Why did you pick him, Teddy? I mean, talk about a disgrace compared to what he always says about the media, about the sanctioning bodies. He brings up a lot of great over the years. He really has. But here it is. How many times have I said that Wilder does not know how to fight and people attack me? Where's that eraser now? That's also what he said. Okay, well, why'd you pick him then? Why did you pick him then? You can't. And then you say, oh, you shouldn't disrespect fighters. Isn't that the ultimate disrespect, though? I mean, that's very disrespectful. You picked him, Teddy. Come on, dude. Oh, wow. But, you know, a lot of this is likes and retweets, and he's so proud of his podcast now that he's willing to do whatever the hell he wants. We saw him after fights. He just screamed over something, over nothing. Like I said, he's over there screaming how shitty, which it was, that Canelo card was in that Golovkin fight, right? 10-2. That was garbage. But it's any 10-2 is garbage in that first fight. Golovkin didn't win 10-2. Like, to say Canelo barely even won a round or two, come on, dude. I think Golovkin won the fight, but let's not act like it was 10-2. Like, it's just so funny how that, and that's what it is. It's come down to likes, retweets, and all this stuff. That's what they don't. It's no longer giving your real opinion. It's like checking Twitter and then running with it. You know, that's what it seems like, because it's like, Teddy, how can you fucking pick him? Why would you pick someone with no skill? All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Carcino. What's going on, Carcino? How the hell are you doing, sir?
I'm all right. It's halftime of the game. So, you know, LeBron and Zion's first game. So, you know, that's what the world is watching. That's been like the massive thing. But other than that, I've been pretty good. So a lot of wild stuff going on. This fight, man, people are still talking about it on Tuesday. Incredible. Completely incredible.
Like, you'd never guess we had a good weekend in the sport on some people on Twitter, though. You're like, dude, are you ever happy? Like, I just, some of this stuff is just so funny, dude. Like, aren't you happy that we got a fight that everybody's talking about and it didn't turn into a jab and grab? Oh, that fight sucked, and this is why boxing sucks and all that, and this is why it's dead. A lot of times that happens. I mean, the last just mega fight, I mean, you know, obviously Canelo and Golovkin, those are big fights, but the Mayweather-Pacquiao, after that fight, you know, everybody built up Pacquiao to beat Mayweather, and then it was a 10-2 fight. And they just fucking horrible, and, you know, everything was over. The sky was falling. Even though 2015 was a very good year of boxing, they looked at that one fight and were like, oh, fuck this. And you see some of that. I mean, dude, Pacquiao still says he beat Mayweather. But I don't hear people giving him shit anymore about that. Like, I don't know. I just think it's surprising. Like, to me, I'm not surprised when I hear excuses. You know? I'm just not. I could sit there and call him out, but I'm not going to just – I think if you only do that, then you're taking away credit from Fury too. Like, why don't we give as much credit to Fury as we're giving as much shit to Wilder? Both of them deserve that. You got to give credit. You can't only – but see, that's not social media. Social media is built on that stuff rather than, like, they're damn near discrediting Fury almost by just focusing on it. But it has been really interesting, to say the least. And the excuses are piling up as we speak. I mean, I've been on the show, and there may be another one. I may have missed another excuse. So I'm going to go back after the show and see if I find more. But before we get into that stuff, right, because I definitely covered that. I'm not letting Wilder off the hook, but, you know, we got to look at the whole thing, not just that. Because, like I said, I mean, Colati had diarrhea. That's why he didn't beat Pacquiao, remember? He had diarrhea. Pacquiao had the blood test is the reason why I lost to Morales. Like, this shit happens left and right. It's funny to me, but let's talk about the fight. So the first two rounds was actually guys landing punches, and actually Wilder and Fury actually talked about this, especially in the second round. He said Wilder was actually pumping his jab more than he had, and he landed a really good right hand on me, and I had to kind of still be careful about it, and he did a good job of, like, stepping away, resetting, and then coming right back at him, tying him up, you know, making it a rough and tumble fight. A lot of the things he said, which I think were really great ideas, right? And he actually did it. You know what I mean? He definitely did it, which was cool too. But then all of a sudden, and no matter what, if Wilder says that he spent his legs by the weight, you know, of that thing and having it on so long, or even by walking around, because remember Andre Ward said he shouldn't be walking around. He's going to lose. That hurts your legs. You got to sit down. Whatever it was, in the third round, because I remember, Garcia, they put up that stat that said 10-10 on jabs. And I was like, wow, he hasn't done the jab, but he actually landed it more. I thought he was doing a good job as far as being competitive in the fight through 2 rounds. But then in the third round, after that shot, it seemed like his legs were gone, and pretty much everything after that, his legs were shot, gone, whatever the reason is, whether it's equilibrium shot, which we've seen plenty of times, or it did have a combination to do with whatever the fuck excuses they are. Whatever it was, the fight fucking changed after that. And it was a wrap, basically. And obviously, he wasn't happy with, his corner throwing in a towel, which, once again, is not a big surprise. A fighter wants to go on his shield. Mark Breland did the right thing, no doubt about it. What'd you think of those first couple rounds? And then after that, like I said, there was just no hope, and we saw the ear bleeding. We saw the cheekbone kind of swell up. Luckily, he didn't mess up his eardrum badly. That was good. He only got stitches in there. But it was very smart to keep attacking that ear. He must have hit him like 8 or 9 times real quick within a couple of rounds. I thought it was really smart, too. He kept putting his weight on him. What did you think overall with like I said, the opening rounds, and then it was all one-sided after whatever happened to his legs?
Well, I had it very interesting. This is the most transparent fight. In my whole breakdown and keys to the fight, Tyson Fury did every single thing I said in the keys to victory. I'm like, you got to be that 270-something pound guy. I did a prediction to the fight after the weigh-in. And I was like, man, after this weigh-in, I was so tempted to take Tyson Fury because he's a much bigger man. And I was like, he needs to be the bigger man. He needs to smother Deontay Wilder, push him back, lean that 200-some pounds on him. And he did that, but what he did was leave himself open in the first round by half committing. He was halfway committing, still throwing feints, but not really getting out of the way. And he was doing this on purpose. He was throwing little fill-out jabs to just try to bait Deontay Wilder into being in a comfortable, just make him comfortable of thinking this is how the fight is going to be. So he was selling it. And Wilder actually caught him with a glancing right hand. He was trying to get back. And he clipped him on the chin, and he turned with the shot. And if that right hand would have clipped him fully, he'd have probably been down. That was a dangerous mistake, and he knew, okay, I got to step it up. So he changed the angle, and he started doing step-in hard jabs. And those were throwing Wilder off because he was throwing them off speed. And countering, he kind of was waiting for Wilder to throw that pawing jab he throws out that they kind of count. I don't know how Punch that does that. He was kind of waiting for that, so he'll counter it with a step-in jab. And that's when you throw a step-in jab, when the other fighter is committing to throw a jab, because yours is going to be hard and stiffer when you step into it. So now you're putting all your 270-something pounds into one big, powerful jab. And it had an effect. And if your fighter's foot is off balance, like Wilder is, it would throw you back. And he consistently would throw that shot in there every now and then. And it would hurt Wilder or get his attention. And he'll have to back off. And then, the feints and changing the footwork, changing the angles to where he has to reach with the right hand to get to Fury. And once again, Wilder was a one-hand fighter. We were told that this would change in this fight. He was fighting off the back foot from the first round, but he had opportunities that were there if he was taking advantage. Fury was there for a left hook counter, but he knew Wilder's not going to counter me. I could just come right in. So he started to go downstairs to the body, as Sugar Hill wanted him to do. is put the pressure on him and let Wilder mentally crack just from the pressure of having to deal with you being in his face, bothering him, tying him up, making it a fight that he's not really used to. Now, in the second round, the schooling had picked up. The pace had picked up. The hard jabs, everything is working. Then he, for the first time in the fight, in the 23-second mark, he does a straight left hand right on the ear. That's what messed him up, Chris. The fight was over ever since that punch. The first jab, right hand. He got in an angle. Deontay Wilder was turned. He couldn't even see it. It was a straight left, right hand on the 23-second mark, and that's what messed up his eardrum and his equilibrium. From that point, it was over. His legs were gone. Yeah, it was
like a fawn, like a baby deer on ice, right?
Yeah, that hit him right on the cheekbone, right on the ear, straight right hand down the middle. Jab, he caught him. 23 seconds to go in the round. Wilder panicked, starts just shooting wild right hands immediately after that punch. He missed Fury takes him to the corner, and the bell rings. The third round starts, and he's done. He is completely done. That round, he's trying to figure it out and try to keep a game face, and he's tying up in this round. And he's really getting destroyed this round. The hard jab, everything, and he's trying to fight with keeping his balance. And this was the first time he grabbed the rope to try to keep balance, and this is all before the shot lands. So before that shot lands, Tyson Fury hits him behind the head. And no one really seemed to notice that shot, but he caught him behind the head. Wilder points it out. Wasn't a really big shot, but it was behind the head. And the next one happens about 5 to 10 seconds later. He kind of punches on, behind the ear a little behind the head. The arm was in the way. It wasn't a bad punch, so deliberate. He really was aiming for the back of his head to where it'd be a foul where he's thrown out. But it definitely shouldn't have been scored a knockdown. But Wilder was really done after that shot. His leg was gone completely because his right leg just gave up after the shot. It just went out.
Yeah, you can see. It was almost like, you know how you have a hurt knee or something and you don't want to put pressure on it? You're just like, no, I'm just going to stiffen my – dude, you're right. It was just and then even after that, that body shot, there may have been a little trip on the toes. They didn't really show it after that. But it didn't matter because he just had no control over it, He had no control at all. He was done.
Yeah, so after that, and you're absolutely correct. And now it became will this fight be stopped? Because now he's just getting hammered. And they did such a smart thing, which Sugar Hill wanted to do, and his approach based to the former trainer he had in the first fight. They fight more of a European style of being elusive and being on the outside and not putting yourself in harm's way, jab, 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 and, land the big right hands, but make a miss and stay pretty much all on the outside. Sugar Hill's not going to do that. You're going to keep the Wilders on his back heels, and then you're going to dig to his body. When you get close enough, dig in his body. Nobody's really gone to this guy's body and broke him down. Go to his body, work his body, and that's what Fury was doing. He was landing some big shots to the body. And a lot of people don't understand that. When a fighter's legs go, body shots are the things that help break them down even more. Because now that's going to cut their mobility away. They're not going to be able to go from left to right too much no more. There's going to be a standing target for you to hit. And the body shots are just more, debilitating to Wilder, that it was just a matter of time. And he was going down. and you saw how he was reacting. They could have stopped this fight after round 5, and no one would even argue. Not one argument.
No, you're right.
Came from him.
You're definitely right.
Yeah, and then when you get to the point where he's upset about like what was happening out there in the ring and all these stuff, the reason why they kept him into the fight is because Vegas was gonna lose millions that fight before 6 rounds. They had to carry this fight past 6 rounds. The under was paying out heavy. Everybody bet the under in this fight. And it was crazy how much money Vegas would have lost had they called this fight in the round 5, where it could have been called and just stopped. They were not going to stop this fight. Now, I knew that, Breland was going to stop this fight once it got past 6. He probably wanted to stop it in round 5, but was probably instructed, don't do it. Nobody stops this fight till he gets past 6, because they're going to lose millions of dollars, so he put his at risk for millions of dollars. And
well, once he was in the corner, too, in that 6th round, once he was in that corner and he started getting hit with those big shots, then I was like, well, I mean, something's got to give here,
Yeah, I mean, even before that, going into the 7th round, he was hit with a jab and his whole body, bent over. That tells you the equilibrium is off. I was sitting next to a nurse who was watching it and said his involuntary response is not good. He said he's concussed. And I was watching it with her, and she's like, he's got a concussion. And she's like, I'm a nurse. I know. She's like, I'm watching it on the screen. You see how he's blinking his eyes? It's because he's concussed. And she knew that after, round 3. After round 3 and round 4, in between there, she's like, and why is the physician not seeing this? The ringside physician should have been right there and would have saw it immediately. She's like, I'm watching it, and I can see his eyes. I know he's concussed. His involuntary response, his body's not responding. And he's trying to figure it out because he's giving the commands, and his body movement is not the same. It's not working. And that's why he's not able. And he's like, when he gets hit, look how it's like a drunk person. When you get hit, your body is leaning all over, so it's getting worse and worse. When every shot he's taking, and that's a big man hitting him.
Yeah,
and that's
called
does.
punch
He's
drunk.
leaning on him. Yeah, he's
that's
leaning
like
on him.
the example of punch drunk.
Yeah, exactly. And he wants to jump back in there, and save face and come out and blame a costume. They fit you for costumes. So you had to try the costume on before the fight and had to know exactly what it was going to feel like when you put it on. For all that, it wasn't even worth it. That was your choice. You chose to wear that costume. You didn't have to.
Yeah, right. There's no excuse because it's all self-inflicted.
No,
there's just no way around it. Even if that's the true reason, that's on you. You know what I mean? That's your okay. If that's your reasoning, then you fucked up.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, if that's your excuse, then that's all on you, and you screwed that up. I mean, I've been hearing every rumor now that Tyson Fury had something in his gloves. Look at the way his wrist was moving.
Loose glove. Yeah. Anthony Durrell was, filling in and doing it.
It's so
Although
bizarre.
I do believe the Anthony Durrell thing because the Durrell brothers are always trying to get a fight stopped. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's how he made a career. I'm like, he kept winning titles, being on his back. I'm like, man, he get knocked out, he get a belt. How did that happen? So
what do you think?
Yeah.
So do you think he's gonna say F it the ego, the pride, the embarrassment that's coming out right now, because a lot of it's just that, you know. Because remember, Chavez Sr. still to this day will not admit that Pernell Whitaker beat him. It's like, dude, come on, man. He beat you. Like, he won't admit it. Some guys just can't admit it. But do you think he's going to live up to his word that he said he's going to take it, or do you think he's going to do the Jared Hurd? And if he takes it, could it be any different, or is he going to have to, in those first couple rounds, land those right hands much the way you described it?
Well, if they do this fight again, and he does take it, like he's saying he does, I think it's a mistake. Because Tyson Fury is somebody who knows what you're going to run. So he knows what you're going to do. He knows what you're going to run. He's a boxer. A boxer can always adjust. They know different techniques that they can use and say, okay, that's not working. I could try this. Wilder has always been a one-punch pony and one-show pony, and people like it because he puts people back on the mat and knocks people out in spectacular fashion. And once they see that, then they go, oh, okay, well, he's got this. He's fighting this girl here, this person here, and, he's got his girl, and he's got everybody coming down. Oh, he's got this. This is easy. Wilder's going to knock him out in one round, and he does. And that's why I keep telling people, I'm like, Wilder was the same guy he's always been in every other fight. Every fight he's been in, he's been the guy who didn't have boxing ability, but you paid money and you showed up to see him. Why? Because he usually knocks people out. So that's what he's going to bring to the table. So firing Mark Breland and all this stuff, and Breland cost me the fight, and it doesn't matter if you're not doing the work or trying to improve.
Right. Good point.
Wilder doing road work, I'm like, I have never really seen him do road work ever. Like somebody
I've
told me,
only seen him. I've seen him swim and bike. That's it.
Exactly. So I'm like, he's got these chicken legs and all these things, and I'm like, now his legs are like, hey, my legs are gone. I carried that thing for 10 rounds. I'm like, no one's going to feel sympathy for you for that. No one.
Right.
No one would.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's people that wore costumes and came to the ring, and that's just that. You lost.
That just keep it to yourself on that one. Keep that to yourself.
You got beat around the board.
Surprise people and be like, hey, look, I'm moving. See, I do have my legs. And then after the fight, the third fight, then say, hey, this is actually what happened. You know what I mean? That's different. But, some of the things you gotta tighten up and just keep to yourself. But the whole people, it was kind of funny, Garcia, to see all these folks saying he got exposed. And like you said, it's like, dude, have you been watching his fights? What do you mean he got exposed, dude? I mean, Gerald Washington was beat. Like, Spilka was beat. Like, come on, dude. Like, it's just funny, man. It's just funny. So you think that trilogy is going to happen then? You think he's going to say screw it?
I do. It shouldn't happen, though. I agree
right.
100%. It shouldn't happen. He should take a tune-up and avoid this fight. Let Joshua and Wilder fight. Let that fight take place and instead of a third fight with you. Because, okay, let's say y'all do the fight again. If it don't change, I don't see how you win. Because now he knows that he can hurt you. He knows that he got you right where he needs you. And I don't know what could really be a determining factor for you. That's my whole thing. So if I'm Tyson Fury, my whole thing is hoping that Wilder don't take it so I can fight AJ. But if he does want to do it again, which he do, because he knows it's like $30 million in his pocket.
Right.
So Wilder's thinking, well, I got to get this money. That's $30+ million. So.
And he probably still has it in his head. I could still knock him out, maybe. That's always going to be in his head.
Oh yeah. And then Eric Gomez puts out that Canelo's May 2nd opponent is going to be a big surprise. and people are going to be shocked. So now I'm like, Billy Joe Saunders? So I'm actually
and I'm hearing
shocked.
Callium Smith. I heard Callium Smith twice now in recent times, and one of them was that Davies dude, that Gareth Davies dude. He said very good sources indicating Canelo and Callium Smith, Mexico versus UK. That I've heard that a couple times now too. Even though a week ago it did seem like they were going to finalize Billy Joe Saunders as it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not really a big surprise. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I mean,
Right.
isn't that one of the
Exactly.
front runners? You know?
Exactly. So I'll be like, I'll sit there and tweet Eric Gomez. I'll be like, Eric, what are you talking about? This is not a surprise to anyone. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think he should take it. But then he's probably thinking financially more than just legacy. And he knows if I let Tyson Fury get away now, if someone else beats him, I'm going to look like an idiot. Beat him or win and have him win over him somehow. So they're going to come out with a way, PBC, or they can just cash him out. You know, if he don't beat Rick Ross or whoever it is he's going to fight, Tyson Fury, anybody that comes down the ring, if they're going to come down there and PBC is baking all their money on it, they're going to do the thing with Top Rank again, make a big promotional show out of it. And they like I would say, they learned a lot about promoting during this fight with Top Rank. Top Rank showed them how to promote this event and gave them a blueprint on how it should be done and how it should be laid out. I know a lot of people didn't get their media credentials for this fight, and they were mad. But, you know, Magnum Media was packed. Media front row and made a lot of money. So
yeah,
it definitely brought the interest of the casual boxing because they were sitting there watching this fight, and there is nothing more funnier than watching a casual fan try to break down boxing because they don't know any of the backstories. They just know what they see. So they were disgusted.
Yeah, they see the highlights.
Right, they were just so disgusted and Wilder. Like, man, how you gonna let this guy beat you up like this? This makes no sense. You knocked him down last time. Now he coming in here whooping your butt. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I mean, they were badgering him all around. And I'm looking like, man, he's probably on pride thinking, I got to take this fight. But if you're PBC, PBC didn't want to make this fight. PBC did not want to make this fight for even a rematch. They didn't want
I disagree with you there. I disagree with you there because they had the contract sent to him. Tyson Fury said he got a contract, so they did want to make this rematch.
No. Wilder's team has made them do it. They didn't want to do it. Wilder wanted to fight. He wanted the rematch. That's why I gave him so much credit for being a real champion and everything when he lost, because I said, this is a fight he didn't have to take. It wasn't mandatory that he does do this fight. He didn't have to make it. So he was free from it. He could have did another fight. He fought King Kong. He could have went and fought someone else. He did not have to fight Tyson Fury. They sent the contract, though, and wanted to do it. They were willing to work. PBC didn't want to work with Top Rank. They were willing
that
to
was
do
before,
it.
But Garcino, that was before Top Rank even got involved, though. I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what
I'm saying. He had
saying.
the contract for a week.
No, that's what I'm saying. He had a fight contract from them because Wilder pushed to get the fight done. Then when he signed with Top Rank, they didn't really want to do it anymore, and Wilder said, no, I want that fight. We're going to have to just deal with Top Rank. And that's how they came with a 50-50 arrangement, because that was the only way they were going to succeed. They weren't going to give him 50-50 at first. And Wilder was like, no, I'm promoting, Bomb Squad promoting. We're going to do the fight and negotiate it ourselves with Bomb Squad Promotions, and And Tyson Fury, we can do it 50-50. We'll split it everything down the line.
But that's how it was already negotiated before that, though. They're already on a 50-50.
They already said they would do it, but he went and signed with Top Rank anyway to ensure that this was going to get done the right way. But
and also to ensure a bunch of money, because that's what helped him.
PBC didn't want to do the fight.
Fury made $10 to $50 million each fight this summer. That's why he signed the long-term deal too. That was part of it too. And he would be on equal ground then too. You know.
Yeah,
he'd be on equal ground.
He was smart, but he didn't want to do it with Top Rank. PBC did not want to work with Top Rank. They wanted to keep it all under the PBC umbrella. So when I was saying they don't want to do the fight, meaning that they didn't want to do it when he was with Top Rank. They really, and Wilder had to push them to make the fight with Top Rank. Like, no, we're still doing this fight. Don't push it away. But they didn't mind doing it under PBC's umbrella. They didn't want to do the fight once he signed with Top Rank. That was the facts I'm trying to bring up. And Wilder went and pushed and demanded. He's like, no, I'll do the King Kong fight. I'll do that fight, but I want Tyson Fury. I got to do that fight. I have to fight him again. So his ultimate confidence in himself to take that fight again, I was like, that's a true champion. So I gave him
agree.
all
it's
of
the worst
credit
style
in the world.
Yeah, it's the worst style matchup for him, period. You're right. I mean, he definitely didn't have to, that's for sure. We are kind of running out of time a little bit. I got to get some other folks in. What do you think about this Jesse Vargas, Mikey Garcia fight going on? What do you think? It's kind of like a crossroads fight at welterweight, because if Mikey can't beat Jesse, then he's not going to be out welterweight anymore. And then same with Vargas. He's, drew with he drew with Delorme. Him and Soto had a good, a tight fight. How do you see this one playing out? Do you think the weight's going to be an issue for Garcia? Because he has been on the ring for almost a year.
I think it'll be a back-and-forth barn burner. Mikey might drop Jesse with a left hook late. But it's going to be a close fight. But I think Mikey wins on the scorecard, but it's a very close fight. Because the thing about Jesse is he is a little too brave at times, and he goes to war, and he's been in a lot of wars. He's been in a lot of those, great fights, like the one with Broner, which I felt he won, and they gave him the draw. Even with Pacquiao, he had moments against Manny Pacquiao, but, he stays in there a little too long. And he can get caught and get dropped, but he'll get up and he's game. And the thing is, he's not a side-to-side fighter. He's a vertical fighter, just straightforward and back. He's not vertical. He just comes either 100 yards back, 100 yards forward, straight line. And it's going to make for a lot of different things for Mikey Garcia. Mikey ain't going to have to go hard to find Jesse. He's going to have to use angles and be smart against Jesse Vargas. It's tough, but I got Mikey winning by majority decision.
Anything else you want to cover before you take off and get to that second half, sir? Anything else you want to talk about or anything?
All I was going to say is thanks for having me on, and people got to realize that we just saw a great boxing match. We saw a great fight. We had a clear winner of the fight, and we're still talking about the fight. People got to learn to appreciate the fight that we actually got. And Wilder's excuses after the fact he's running to Africa, the costume and all that, it takes away from his own greatness of going to accepting the fight and all these things, and people were defending that, and now it looks like he might still be concussed. And all the stuff he's talking right now, I'm like, maybe he shouldn't be talking right now. Go to Africa, come back, and then see if you still want to do this thing. So he's got like 30 days. He hasn't filed anything yet. He says he's going to do it, but he's got 30 days. So that's it. So thanks for having me on. I'm going to get back to this game.
All right, man.
Hopefully I'll
Take it
win
easy.
this money. All right. Good night, bro.
All right, man. Later. Have a good one.
Later.
Of course, you can always check Carcino out on Carcino for Life. He's live streaming right now. I bet you live stream's about to go up for the second half of that game with the Lakers. And I almost said the Hornets. And the Pelicans, the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm just going to kind of preview some of the stuff going on this weekend. Talk a little fight news, and then we got to get to a couple more callers. Portland, you're in the realm here very soon. 310 is yet to call in. I'm not sure. Maybe he just got busy or whatever, but he could sneak in here at the last second. We'll see if that's the case. But yeah, I'm really intrigued in this matchup for Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas. I mean, both of them are solid fighters. We know Jesse Vargas. That's why I call it, a crossroads fight, because it's not really a top 3 matchup or something like that. You know what I mean? But it's still very meaningful at the weight class to these fighters, because, like I said, if Vargas loses to Mikey Garcia in undersized welterweight, skill-wise, we know Mikey's got him. But if he loses to him, it's kind of like, dang, like this may be his last big opportunity. He's fought in Pacquiao. He's fought in Bradley. He's won some titles. He did some work. You know what I mean? I remember that first fight with or not his first fight, but one of his big fights. I think it was on a Mayweather undercard. Maybe it was it Mayweather Marquez against Jose Cito Lopez. That was a really good fight. So, and for Mikey, like I said, the reason why it's a crossroads fight for him. Not in his career per se, but at welterweight for sure, because he basically got whitewashed damn near with Spence. And although I look at a fight with Pacquiao or Danny Garcia and think there are some, the size is a little different at that point, especially for Pacquiao, and also I just think some of his skills could really blend well with those fighters. And he have a chance to beat him. But if he doesn't beat Jesse Vargas, that kind of stops the whole welterweight thing. And also, they're trying to get Manny Pacquiao at some point, to fight Mikey Garcia. So that obviously would go by the wayside too. So this is a big fight for both of them, really. Like I said, though, Mikey Garcia's been out of the ring for almost a year, because what was that? Mid-March, right? His fight with Spence, and he hasn't been in the ring since. So he is the type of guy, though, that stays in the gym. Hopefully he's been able to kind of level out at that weight class, instead of he just body didn't look that good. You know what I mean? It was his first time doing like serious extra strength and conditioning. I don't know. I do think he'll win. Actually, I thought it'd be a little bit closer just because of the size thing on the betting books. Right now, Garcia is a minus 500. And that's about the lowest I see. Otherwise, I see 625 and whatnot. But yeah, plus 333 is the lowest I see for Jesse Vargas. I see a lot of plus 400s. And a lot of plus 375. So 3-1, 4-1 underdog. Like I said, I do think that Garcia does outskill him, but it's gonna be a tough one. And I wonder what Jesse's gonna do. Is he gonna come forward and kind of walk right into the traps that Mikey's gonna leave? I don't know, or set, I should say. But yeah, I like Mikey by decision. I think it'll take him a little bit with the timing. He'll get his jab going, but then he's going to land some big, clean shots that will kind of change the landscape of the fight. So I got him by decision. If this was a triple header, the opener would be Julio Cesar Martinez Aguilera against what's his toes? Why can't I think of his name? Jay Harris. And, this stylistically could be an interesting fight. Martinez only has one loss. He's coming off a win over Rosales. He also beat Selby, not Lee, but Andrew. He had a fight with Charlie. What the hell's his name? With Edwards. He actually lost. I just got on Boxing Rec now. He lost to Joaquin Cruz. His first fight he lost by split decision. That's his only loss. Otherwise, he's coming off that, like I said, Rosales win. Jay Harris he's got an unbeaten record, 17-0, but he just beat Patty Barnes. He really hasn't faced anyone of high level, at all. So he's kind of in prospect mode, in my opinion. So stylistically, that could be an interesting fight. I don't give Joe Harris that much of a chance. I hope it just makes it a good fight. I mean, if you think Jay Harris, that's the basketball player. If you think Jay Harris can win, I see him for like upwards of plus 900, plus 650. I see someone has him at. I see a plus 925. So you're looking at anywhere from like a 6-1 to all the way up to a 9-1 when I'm looking at these odds. I think the lowest I saw so far was like 5-1. So if you believe in Jay Harris, put some money on him. I think Martinez will come through. I think it'll be good, like a good competitive fight, and then Martinez will just take over. I'm going to say by stoppage. Jay Harris is just, we don't know what we exactly got, with him. He's a prospect. We'll see. But the 50-50 fight on paper, and that's why, Eddie Hearn's calling this card a monster. Because remember, when he came with DAZN USA, he said he was going to have, 16 cards that are going to be stacked wall to wall. And then out of those 16, there's going to be 4 just monster cards, And you can tell which media members is, paid by DAZN by how they post this fight. They're literally posting images of the fight and some information that you just normally don't see with other fighters, whether it's Top Rank or BBC. You see this with DAZN more, and they've admitted that they're paying, for guys to come travel and all that. But I like this fight. I'm not taking – or I like this card. I like the top 2 fights especially. But I just don't call it a monster. For me, if you're going to call it like a monster card, I think you have to have a monster fight in the main event. But this right here is the 50-50 fight. Cal Yafai against Roman Gonzalez. I mean, it's back and forth. I see a lot of, plus 135. I think the highest is, minus 135, 137, 152. That's for Yafai. And then, basically like plus 105, plus 115. Yeah, plus 115 is the most I see right now. I'm on ProBoxingOdds.com. So this is a good fight. And I think this fight comes down to where Roman Gonzalez is in his fighter spirit right now. And that may sound silly or whatever to some people, but just how shot-worn is he? That's what this fight comes down to. And it's tough to tell. I mentioned earlier, maybe it's good that he hasn't been in a war for like a year and a half. Right? I mean, it was 2017, those back-to-back fights that most people thought he won the first fight against Rungbasai, but it was a brutal fight, and he got knocked out in the second one. So he did take about a year off. Then he came back against Fuentes. He fought really a no-hoper in his last fight at the end of the year. So maybe that year off and then kind of working himself in, maybe that's going to help him. You know what I mean? I'm really hoping so. I like Yafai, Cal Yafai. Good fighter. That Ishida fight I thought he really showed a lot. I was pretty impressed there. He's been out of the ring since sometime in 2019. I should actually check just to make sure, because he's going to need all those outside skills. That's for sure. Yeah, it's the summer. Yeah, okay. So June 29th was the last time he was in the ring, and I'm speaking of Cal. So did he get an injury? I think he did. He looked good against Gonzalez. Fairly easy to win. Like I said, that Ishida, that was a really good performance. So, like I said, to me, it really comes down to how shot warm Roman Gonzalez is. How much of his fighter spirit, his punch resistance, is left. And is Cal a guy that can actually add to that punch resistance and land big enough shots and hard enough shots to do it? On the surface, you say, well, he's had 26 fights. He has 15 knockouts. Who has he knocked out that's really that high level? Not many folks there, right? So I think it will be a decision. But if you're accurate and one guy's on the downslide of his career, it could get a little, it could actually, he could land some clean punches and knock him out, So I'm in between on this. On the surface, if Gonzalez was, let's say, 90% of what he was in 2017, I think he wins the fight. I really do. I think he wins the fight. But if he's not, it could be problems. And some people will say, well, he's only like early 30s, right? He's like 31 or 32. But we know, he's had a ton of fights. And even in some of these fights, the Quattros, and, he's taken a lot of punishment in this time frame. So on the surface, I want to say Gonzalez, but I'm just not sure what we're going to get out of him. You know what I mean? And it's enough of Cal Yafai being a skilled fighter that can, do some outside work. He's going to have to do that, obviously. Man, I'm in between on this. Maybe, I really don't know. But it's a 50-50 fight. This is the one I'm most excited about. I really like the main event. Like I said, stylistically, I do think Martinez and What's-His-Toes can be a good fight. I think it will be a good fight stylistically. But, in the end, we'll find out. And Jay Harris is what I would say. I wasn't just trying to forget who it was. I just see Martinez winning and probably by TKO. But I'm going to go with Cal Yafai. I'm going to go with him, just barely. I know Joseph Parker's on the card. He's a huge favorite. I think the guy's like a -14 he's facing. There's some other good fighters. They're just not in really good fights. So like I said, a lot of people are calling this a monster card because they're just repeating what Eddie Hearn said. They talk about the top 3 fights like they're the best fights of the year, and then they bring up Joseph Parker, but he's not really fighting anybody. So I'm not trying to shit on this card because I like the card a lot. This is a solid card, but I just try to keep – it's not a monster. If anybody's out there calling it a monster, they're basically just repeating what Eddie Hearn said. So 5:03, I am within range to pass it off to you and let you shut down the rest of the show. It doesn't look like Mark's going to call in. He must have just got busy, unfortunately. Remember, there is a show box as well. Hunter and Rachmaninoff, Newman is fighting. Kevin Newman is fighting on there. And I think Richardson Hitchens, I think he had a replacement, now that I think about that. There's also a card on UFC Fight Pass if you're interested, on FightHubTV.com. That's kind of interesting. On Telemundo as well, there's a fight card that's televised. So, yeah, that about wraps it up. Like I said, I got, what did I say? I'm going to pick Cal to win by points. But if Gonzalez is there, I think he can knock him out. But we'll see. And then I got Martinez, and then I got Mikey Garcia to finish it off. So, yeah, I'm going to go to him in just a little bit here and see where he's at. There was some other news. Oh, David Benavidez. So Benavidez, Yildirim got hurt, his mandatory. So they said, all right, you could take a stay-busy fight, but you have to still fight your mandatory, Yildirim. So he's fighting Caleb Truax April 18th. It sounds like it's on Showtime is what it – and that's actually a decent fight for him. It's still a veteran that's going to get him, it's going to get him some experience. There's also a Prograis. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Prograis and Hooker got made for the zone. Because remember, Showtime actually kind of put a little pressure on them to make that fight because they made an offer too. That's a good fight. To talk about kind of a crossroads fight, they both are coming off losses. So Prograis and Hooker. And also Fortuna and Campbell is under that. So Fortuna's with the PBC. So that's another PBC cross-promotional thing. So that's always – I'm always going to support those. Just to kind of catch you up on Jose Ramirez and Victor Postol. Postol is with the PBC. I don't know if folks know that, but he is. And obviously, Ramirez is with Top Rank. So that's going to be May 9th in Fresno. And there's another fight, Sergey Lipinets against Kudratio, Abdu Kakarov. I can't remember how to say that, but that is that interim vacant belt thing because of Spence being out. The IBF sanctioned this fight to become a mandatory, and it sounds like that's going to be May 16th, the week later. And it's on a PBC card. We don't know. It's either, my guess is it's either going to be Showtime or FS1, just based off the date and based off the location. So that's cool. Those are two more fights along with the other one I talked about where we have some cross-promotional fights that got made. All right, I'm going to go to 503 Portland and let him shut this puppy down. What's going on, 503?
Hey, yo, what up, man? What up, dude? What up? Yo, what up, Chris? I can't say I'm happy, man. I can't say I'm excited. I can't say anything, man. All I am, dude, all I could say is that Tyson Fury shut me the fuck up. And, you know what I mean? Bro.
Aren't you at least happy a little bit about the boxing world getting some attention this last week, though? Isn't that a somewhat positive thing?
It is. I mean, it is. But to me, I mean, I follow boxing no matter what. The casuals, you already know me, man. Casuals, they're just gonna, after this fight, we'll hear about them until the next AJ fight or something. But yeah, I mean, boxing was at the spotlight. The fight was a hell of a fight. But just in my opinion, man, I'm the one that's sad. You know what I mean? People, fans out there, UK, congratulations! Holy shit, man! The Gypsies. It's just that I'm bummed out. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say, is that I'm bummed out as a Wilder fan, and as this guy holding the WBC belt and holding, he's an American, like you were saying, Chris. You're rooting for the guy too. I heard you saying that. And, I was too, because he's an American, you know what I mean? I'm backing this dude up. I'm backing Deontay Wilder up, man. And, we all saw the fight. We all saw how it went, man. And, in my opinion, I did give the Deontay Wilder that second round just because I felt he kind of stole it. To me, there's times where a fighter could steal the round if he like he did in that fight, like in that second round where he was able to land two. I believe it was two big right hands, and the one one of them landed like real close to the end of the round, and then you could casual fans, fucking, whatever, you know what I mean, will kind of be like, oh, that kind of round went to him because he landed that right hand. So I just went that way. But goddamn, dude, nothing but respect, man.
I did too. I gave him the second round because he landed a couple overhand rights and jabs, and even Fury said that early, that in the second round, that he was like, okay, dude, these jabs and right hands are coming through.
Yeah. And but I mean, that was shit, man. That was it for Deontay after that, man. And but after that, man, it was all down here for Deontay. But all too, man. I mean, dude, bro, I was just like, man, Tyson, like, we just saw this completely different fighter, man. I didn't, I thought he was gonna have his dancing shoes on, dog. I thought he was gonna be fucking trying to be Floyd in there and shit, take some shots, and But the thing is, he said what he did. You have to respect that. I mean, what he did, he said he was gonna do, and I didn't believe him. I didn't fucking take that shit seriously. I was like, what the fuck? All of a sudden, he's gonna be a killer. Even though I'm not gonna lie, even though that last press conference where they pushed each other, that when I saw that, like I saw Deontay's push and Tyson Fury's push, and I just thought, man, holy shit, I thought there was different powers there. Like, man, Deontay is definitely the guy with the knockout power, but man, I just seen he just seemed bigger, fucking Tyson Fury, like that weight weight just seemed a lot bigger this time, man, and obviously showed in the scales. Deontay, he went up in weight for this fight, and but damn, it didn't matter. But dude, Tyson Fury, nothing but respect, honestly, too, because fuck, man, he made like Deontay look so like just so fucking like amateurish, man. He made him. I'm not using the word exposed. I'm just saying he made him look just foolish in there, man, like tripping over himself and. Looking like he had Bambi legs all day, man, and it's crazy. Just the Tyson Fury, man, just nothing but respect to you, and man, just holy shit, you just bummed me out though. That first it was Andy Ruiz losing the belt, and then now we got Deontay losing, man. It's not looking good for America at all, dog. The thing is that we came here. To me, I was over here repping our flag, the one. The United States flag, because we're from here, and Deontay's Alabama, man, and fuck, I don't know, man, I'm just sad, disappointed, and everything, man. Just all I can do is just really, congratulate the winner and just, be silent, man, because he really did shut me the fuck up, man. I can't, dude. I was speechless when that fight was going on. That first knockdown, and then that second knockdown with the body shot. Oh my God, I was like, dude, I felt like
done too. You knew once you saw his legs, it was like, dude, I don't even know how he's staying up. It's funny because he was getting hit in the jaw and staying up, but the ear shots and the head shots, those are the ones that hurt him or whatever, you know what I mean? But, I mean, I couldn't believe some of these shots he was staying up to. I was just like, wow, dude, how is your legs even holding this up? Because they look like you're just on, ice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2.5 minutes left, just so you know. I don't want you to miss out on the Mexico versus Mexico,
Hell yeah. But yeah, man, and there's like just the amazing work. I just want to just congratulate Tyson Fury because, damn, dude, he just looked incredible. That's all I could say, man. He looked amazing in that fight, man. He just looked unbeatable, like a different level, man. I don't see Joshua beating him. He could really retire for another 2 years, get fat, do coke, come back and still whip ass, man. And just, man, Jesus, you got to respect that dude, man. I'm just speechless, man. He shut me up, like I said, you know what I mean? And, but it hurt. In all honesty, it hurt me. Like I said, Deontay, man, but keep your head up, Deontay. It looks like that rematch is going to happen, nothing but respect. But, in my honest opinion, if I had to criticize Deontay, I did believe that he had to take this immediate rematch right away just because we saw with Anthony Joshua, we were criticizing him and saying that he's not going to win the rematch with Ruiz if he comes in immediately. And look what he did. He fucking, people don't respect him the way he won, but he won. He got the W, and that's what it's about. But let's see if this fight, let's see what happens, bro. I don't know.
You got a minute left.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut you off. Just letting you know.
So yeah, thanks, brother. And so that's my opinion that he has to take this immediate rematch. If he takes a tune-up or anything else, man, takes a break or wild, man, that just looks bad because, I mean, Joshua got his ass whipped too, and look what he did. He got them belts back fucking right away, dude. So, he has to do that too, to be one for his legacy, you know what I mean? If he wants to be this fighter to have a name in the boxing history.
Dude. I don't want you to miss
and also the the Mexicans, you know what I mean? The main event. We got it over there in Texas, man. You already know. I got Mikey Garcia. He's my boy. Either way, it's a win-win for me. Two Mexicans going at it, so let's do it. I don't see this fight being boring. I see this fight being exciting. The Mikey's going to go in there, try to prove something. I got Mikey Garcia, unanimous decision over Jesse Vargas, and let's see what Vargas could do.